Oh man, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chloe, for for taking the time and juggling this. Technology has not been working very well for anyone lately, so thank you for for
That's
bearing with me
okay.
to figure this out.
We
And
got
yeah,
here. Thanks for having me.
absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on the show and have you share really, what you're all about, share about your story.
hmm
And you're doing a lot of things. I mean, a lot of things, and I love that. You're doing so much. So for people who don't know, this is Chloe, and she is in the UK. And Chloe, if you would love to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So obviously Chloe is the name, and all sorts is the game really. My main focus is I'm a weightlifting coach and a health and fitness coach. So I work with uh, helping people build healthy habits to sustain their training and recovery and their long-term health and fitness goals. I also DJ, so I work in kind of media and music as well, uh, particularly in the functional fitness space. So I've done some events across the UK and your way in Miami as well at Waterpalooza this year, just before the world went a little bit crazy there.
Yeah, yeah, you
um,
definitely, yeah.
and I train a lot as well, so I like to practice what I preach where I can. That helps me with my process, and it helps me become a better coach. It helps me sort of remind myself and remind people and in my work rather that I'm a learner, we're all learners. So yeah, I train maybe 5 days a week for about an hour in a kind of CrossFit functional fitness capacity, so I focus on Olympic lifting and gymnastics, and I try with the endurance, but haha. I'm yet to get there really with that, but it's all a work in progress, and I just live for the process really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love how you said that. It is the whole thing is the process, the journey and all that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know you said a little bit of what you do, and I mean, your music is your passion. I remember we talked about that before, how that's what helps you cope with a lot of things. And
hmm
seeing the first time I ran into you was at a Battle Cancer, and it was really nice. It was an amazing time. And then I saw you again, like you said, at Wadapalooza in Miami,
yeah.
and the music was just fire. It was on point. It was. I remember I reached out to you. I was like, okay, that song. What was that? I mean, it was. So
That was my favorite part of the whole weekend was anyone, spectators, media, staff, athletes, elite athletes as well. It was a bit of a surreal time. I'm in that little corner of the stage doing my thing, and it doesn't really occur to me that the music's playing over this festival size sound system, and that really it's kind of that uh, as much as the audience takes it as a background noise, it's very much the background noise. It's the atmosphere. And so for people to turn around and be like, oh my god, that was totally wicked, or like what was that song that you played in that last heat, or like, oh my god, that was so funny, you were playing like that song that said then you step from the left to the
Yeah.
right, and they were doing overhead walking lunges.
Yep, it's like perfectly timed. I
It's a
mean,
performance, even though I'm hiding away in the corner. It's kind of like watching an orchestra and creating
absolutely.
an atmosphere in the room or the venue. So yeah.
Absolutely, because it's true. Because not just from the spectators cheering on the athletes, but then the music that's what really fuels a lot of the your adrenaline when you're about to
hmm
do another event. You're like, oh, this is the music right here, and it pumps you up. It really does. So
Yeah,
seriously,
it
great
does.
job with that. Oh, that was fantastic. And
Thank
you're
you.
and you're on Mixcloud, right?
Yeah, Mixcloud DJ CSR.
Awesome. So anyone that wants to hear good mixes for their gym, for their box, for their workout session, their garage, check her out. Seriously, it's good stuff. And so then you're also doing a few other things with Hence, with
Yeah.
Beatifying, with
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So before I kind of started the DJing thing, and before I focused in on my business big time, on my personal coaching business, from an athlete point of view, I have been involved with a few awesome brands, one of which is Hence Stacks. And in the UK, it's a small emerging supplement business who their flagship product is a greens powder. And so kind of tailored towards anyone, not just athletes, but for cognitive function and brain health as much as it is for body, overall physical health as well. And at the time, it was about 2.5 years ago that I started working with Hence as an ambassador, so as an athlete for them. And because they're quite local to me and where they are in the UK, I got some contact time with the guys who runs the business and learned about the product development and how it could really help me. So so as someone who obviously took pride, I guess you could say, but prioritized fueling my body to support my training and recovery, it was a really good brand and a really good moment that we cross paths there, because it's still to this day, I just said before we started recording, I took my greens this morning.
Yeah, you did.
I've literally taken the greens nearly every day for the last 2.5 years. And it just helps me, especially days when I only have a couple portions of fruit or veg, particularly veg. It just helps me know that I'm kind of balancing my micronutrients and boosting my immune system as much as I can. So I've got close friends and family who I kind of recommended that particular product to, kind of a zinc and vitamin D focused product, and also a CBD, which has become massive, globally. I don't know how it is in where you are in the US, but CBD based products.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. So fantastic. Like you said, for you, the green supplements and taking stuff that actually is worth it to you is very important to you. So that's great that you're part of that brand.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, until the last year or so, I guess you could say that when it comes to my training, or particularly from the point of view of becoming like an athlete ambassador for companies, perhaps I had what you'd call like imposter syndrome, or maybe didn't kind of recognize the value that I could bring to that brand, or working in that relationship with that brand at the time, just because of my own judgments of myself and my athletic capacity. But on reflection, it's really helped me grow as an athlete. And also I think it helps those brands and myself like relate more widely to people. I'm not elite level, I'm in sport, so
I don't know about that.
I'm pushing on sort of the RX level in the UK, but I'm definitely not elite level. So it's quite a lot more relatable, I think, to folks who just see someone who is passionate about training every day, and not necessarily training for really high level competition, but more doing competition for fun, and experience, just that those products have an impact in my daily life and recovery. But one of the partner brands that Hence works with is Be Defiant clothing company, and their core values surround kind of breaking the stigma around talking about mental health, and just their whole community is based on mental health. And Kyle, who I know you've been introduced to, he's one of my close colleagues in the UK here, and what he's created with his team and the brand is awesome. So being part of lots of different small and awesome businesses is
absolutely
really cool.
It really is, and I cannot thank you enough for introducing me to Kyle as well. It's been great. It really has, and just I really can't wait for all the other amazing things that are coming with all that. And that's just is so great, and the fact that there's such a need for this type of help, that just doesn't really, it's just not really there right now.
Yeah, definitely, especially since end of March time, everyone was in the height of planning the rest of the year and competitions and things, and then suddenly the kind of global like lockdown situation happened, and I think a lot of people who were already struggling with various mental health issues to be told you have to isolate on your own, or folks who perhaps aren't in a relationship or don't live with a partner, or don't live with parents or family, or had to shield or isolate because of their health. Like it's hard to even put into words how much mental strain that's put on, you know, everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's just so great that there's actual help, real help too, from people that are actually living it day in and day out, to actually be able to sound much more relatable and really understand the truth behind all that. So it's fantastic things. So this is the Chloe now. So let's take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel is that drove you to being healthy and into fitness as much as you are now?
So I lost my mum when I was 18 to cancer.
I'm sorry.
Uh, and that was a difficult battle. I was going through my A levels at the time, which I can't remember what that's like in the US. It's above, so you finish high school and then it's kind of like the next
Mm-hmm.
couple of years after that.
Sure.
So I was in my sixth form year, like 17, 18, and my mum was ill for the best part of 2 years and fighting a losing battle with cancer. And I actually dealt with a lot of the trauma around that over the last couple of years, by putting myself through like clinical psychotherapy. So I have a therapist who I still work with now, just not so frequently. And a lot of why I work in the health and fitness industry and why I've now centered in on my personal coaching more, I think is because a lot of what happened with my mum was really a failure on a part of various professionals in the healthcare industry. And I really just want to be a positive force. You know, I know my intentions, I know my experience or my qualifications or not, I know my realms, and ethically, you know, how I can practice. And within those realms, I just want to help people as much as I can to build a sustainable, you know, healthier approach to themselves, their bodies, their work, and their lives. Because a lot of, you know, what drove my mum to become so ill would have been preventable with the right support. So yeah, I think on a really deep level, that's a lot of what pushes me forward. And then on a personal level, I think grief surrounding something that essentially happened to someone else is really tricky to deal with as an individual, because a lot of my identity around that time became to do with her and what was happening to her, and it wasn't about me. You know, it's tricky to articulate, but so I think when I turned 18, you know, young adult, suddenly I'm having to think about things like, do I buy a house, or what do I do with all this stuff, or, you know, how do taxes work, and I'm going to get taxed on this inheritance thing here and such, and it's just like a massive learning curve, you know, off the back of, oh, congratulations, you turned into an adult, now you've got the job for this job that you didn't even turn up to the interview for.
Right.
Like, and you have to sort through all this stuff that isn't yours emotionally and physically. And so yeah, I struggled with the fact that my identity, I felt like me was what happened to my mum.
Right.
I felt like it just took over my life, and I really got a bit lost in the mix of, you know, who am I, what do I want to do, what makes me happy, how do I think when I'm not thinking about just that and all these things that have happened the last 2 years, or, you know, what everyone else says to me all the time. Every time I meet someone, I have to deal with some aspect of this grief, or, you know, my grandmother's grief, or my mum's friends' grief. So I think really paving the way forward for myself from when I started university and taking up weightlifting, qualifying as a weightlifting coach, finishing my degree, which was a degree in the arts, seeing that through while having hobbies that were, equally my study and my hobbies were a passion, qualifying as a CrossFit trainer, doing other various courses, gymnastic courses, things like that, and just rounding myself off to be able to be qualified to then work in realms that I truly, was passionate about. That was how I started to really help myself redefine my identity. And yeah, so that's kind of how I got to where I'm at now.
Yeah. It's a fantastic story, sir, and I know so many people listening to this will benefit from it, because sometimes some people can feel also guilty because of having those feelings as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they shouldn't. It's part of, also now you're trying to find your own identity, and that's okay. That's part of the
Yeah.
process. Yeah. So what are some of the struggles that you still deal with along the way, and how do you deal with those?
So I actually just watched a program today, some kind of Netflix series, and there was a character on there that was a grief counselor, like a bereavement counselor, and they said something about how grief isn't like finite. There's no end point for grief.
Mhm.
So in terms of loss, like losing a life, losing someone, losing a connection, something that was like someone that was an established part of your life. I think the fact that grief is really sort of ever present and then ever evolving, it changes shape. That's really the struggle for me. Is I can go through particular seasons, like for example when the weather isn't so great in the UK, which is most of the year, although since lockdown it's been crazy and sunny, but
Yeah.
normally it's cold and it's quite dark from about September onwards, until about March time, when then it's still quite cold, and I find that apart from seasonal changes where my mood is affected on a chemical level, throughout the year and surrounding certain dates in the year, familiar dates, birthdays, anniversaries, things that like as humans we kind of create for ourselves as reference points. Emotionally around those times I have historically struggled, and now I've working through sort of psychotherapy for a few years. I've created an awareness in myself around, my thoughts, my behaviors, and moderating emotion, at different parts of the month, let alone around different dates or anniversaries. So before my mum died, I had struggled quite a lot from like 13 onwards with some depression through school. And a lot of that was shaped by events that happened and then how I dealt with them. But also I'm quite a creative person, and without wanting to generalize, being in music or the arts, we as artists do use whatever modes of work that we work in as some kind of discursive emotional communication, like so I was kind of exercising my emotional struggles through my arts from 13 to 18 particularly. And then just before my mum died, I actually tried to commit suicide, and was informally admitted into a psychiatric unit in the UK. And that was when I was 17, and literally two months before I was about to turn 18. And that was 2 months, then was another 2 months before my mum died.
Yeah.
So probably the most volatile time in my life was from 13 to 18. And then, with that kind of grief and going through a grief process before losing someone, when something's going to happen, or you have to deal with sort of daily traumas, I guess. You know, things that you think a daughter shouldn't have to deal with, or a mother shouldn't have to do for her daughter, and so on. Like, those things had become part of everyday life, and so dealing with the grief of something that you knew was going to happen, by the time it happens, it's almost enough time had passed that you get a sense of clarity. And yeah, so I guess on a broad spectrum, depression is something I've struggled with since I was sort of, well, I'm aware of it since I was sort of 13. And but more recently, in the last couple of years, it's been less depression.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I've suffered with depression for a few years, but I do struggle and work through anxiety on a number of levels. And so the last couple of years particularly, that's been more where my mental strain lies.
Right. Right. And that's the thing where doing what you enjoy doing comes so helpful, especially at those times when you know that there's something you can do and what you can control, which is your, you know, your exercising, which is your music, which
Mm-hmm.
is you being able to have gone through therapy to be able to understand all those emotions instead of just kind of bottling them up and not
Mm-hmm.
expressing them. That's what was so helpful. And I think it's a great message again, that anyone listening to this, you know, reach out. You need help. Look for
Yeah.
the help that you need. Do not just stay within those feelings, you know,
Yeah.
needed.
Definitely. I think I've been quite fortunate where as a I think I have quite a good judge of character of folks, and that's a trait that I got from, you know, my mom, my dad, my family.
Mhm.
I think some people, dependent on what they go through at any point in life, our judgment can become clouded by various people or various,
Mhm.
ways that we're treated or things that we've been through. And I think I'm grateful for the fact that I like to think I've always had quite a good sense of, judgment, in terms of the judgment that's going to help me make decisions for myself, not like to judge other people and what they're
Right.
doing or whatever. But so, where am I going with this? What I'm trying to say now is that I'm lucky because in the last couple of years, had the kind of clarity, like I say, to work out who is around me, who is in my direct environment, how is my direct environment supporting my mental health, but also supporting my goals, supporting my daily actions, or, any of that. And some people aren't so lucky to be able to surround themselves with good people. Perhaps their environment is something that is kind of taking over their ability to really work on their mental health and sustain their mental health.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I am super grateful for that. And really, I think that's what I now look out for in others, is I kind of really want to help people look outside of their heads and look outside of themselves to check, how much of what's going on around me is actually healthy for me right now, or how much of it is a reflection of where I'm at and what I'm choosing to surround myself with. Maybe like in yourself, you're actually at a point where you're toxic to yourself. I've certainly been there. So
Absolutely. No, and
yeah.
you're absolutely right, because sometimes and I've been there before myself too, until we finally kind of have that self check. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, oh my gosh, why am I letting myself be either manipulated or treated this way? Or just, sometimes we just get complacent, and
Yeah.
sometimes we just figure, well, I guess that's life. And
Yeah.
we just kind of try to make it less as horrible as it really is. And, just to kind of that's like our defense mechanism at times, I think. But when you
Yeah.
actually have someone helping us every step of the way and understand that no, that's not okay. It doesn't matter if that's what you've gotten accustomed to. That is so mentally and emotionally draining that you don't have any energy, you don't have any motivation to do anything else that you really want to do. And then we will literally get lost in that world without even knowing it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I certainly in the last few years have experienced sort of, I guess now it's labeled or more commonly known as like gaslighting.
Yes,
Um,
I just heard that yesterday for the first time.
really?
Yeah.
Well, the way I interpret it is kind of someone who may possess some kind of toxicity, whether it's a personality trait, a character trait of theirs, or whatever, but their actions rarely match
Yeah.
their words, what they say. They make kind of degrading comments or jokes, but then kind of brush it off with like compliments. And actually, I found myself being that person after having spent an amount of time around people who were also like that. And I honestly had to reflect, and I was like, I am such an ugly version of myself right now, and trying to deal with the fact that I didn't have enough insight to recognize that actually that was an impact of gaslighting of someone else
Mhm.
on me at the time. You kind of just recognize those, I guess you call them character flaws, things that we aren't happy with in how we behave or decisions we make. And you just think, oh my God, it is all me. It's all my fault. I'm an awful person. Like, how do I change? Or,
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah. And
So yeah, sorry, you go. I'm
no,
just
go ahead. Go ahead. This is your time.
yeah, but it's I think that's been a recent struggle for me, and actually is something that people might not recognize is perhaps going on around them, in like a work environment or even like a coaching relationship. Because like I say, I was saying things that weren't necessarily matching how I felt, or I got to the point where I noticed myself shutting people down. Like everything someone said, I'd just be like, oh yeah, well, it's because of this or because of this. And like, that's genuinely not how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when you learn about certain things or you study or whatever, it suddenly becomes clear to you like how little that we actually know as humans. So like there's always going to be something else to learn, right? And so that therefore
Absolutely.
there's no rationale that I should be shutting someone down because I know this or I know that or they're wrong.
Right.
And actually it took me standing up for myself and walking away from somewhere to even begin to get the space to reflect on the fact that that's why I got there was not all my fault. It was, I'm not, I'm there. It's tricky because I'm not equally not blaming someone else, but it's just a part of like human nature and how we interact with each other. That other people's characteristics and tendencies can brush off on you, particularly in like a work environment or in a relationship.
Right.
So yeah, I think I'm grateful that I kind of had that in me to walk away from that. And then since then, I've really just been trying to work on like genuinely being a version of me that I prefer, and daily actions that make me feel genuinely better, or feel as if my responses and comments towards people or my judgments, whether they're in my head or whether they're out loud, that I'm just happier with how those things are.
Right. And they're truly your own
Mm-hmm.
expressions and emotions to those different scenarios. They're not influenced by anybody. It's you are in your own environment, and it feels great. It feels really good to be finally feel like we're in control of what we're deciding to do, not anymore as dependent as what maybe we'd be too afraid of what so and so would think or
Yeah.
react to. That does now we're actually our true selves, slowly coming to our true selves and understanding and learning who we really are as a person.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think anyone listening to this should definitely like read up about gaslighting.
I
If
agree.
if they feel as if they're like a toxic version of themselves right now, you can kind of reflect on your direct environment and see if actually whether kind of you feel like you're the root of that, or whether actually it could be an impact of someone else,
Hmm.
someone else's gaslighting, like starting to believe that you're the gaslighter, like
Yep.
that's an impact of gaslighting.
Yeah.
um
You're like, oh my
you
God,
know,
it was me this whole time.
staying silent, like fight or flight, like just like staying silent to avoid someone else reacting, or feeling like you wouldn't be able to do something yourself, like you're feeling really insecure and helpless, or not being able to make decisions based on that like level of self-doubt, or like second guessing yourself, second guessing memories of things that have actually happened.
Hmm.
Those are all signs of like being impacted by that kind of behavior.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's I mean,
absolutely.
it's really deep stuff, but
It really is. It really is. And I think it's a great way for someone to start. Obviously everyone has their own journey and their own struggles and their own environment. And it's amazing how you said that our environment really does determine so much of how we continue to grow as a person. If we're
mm,
in a toxic environment 24/7, the odds are we're going to be that way. It's just our environment. So we have to really focus to see where that underlying issue is, and obviously within reason, if we can, then change it and slowly change it, make those progressive steps to not be in a toxic environment. And absolutely look up
mm.
gaslighting. Yesterday is funny because I heard the first time was yesterday I started hearing about that phrase, and then today you said it. I'm like, okay, all right, I gotta look into this. So
I
I'm
think it's quite
definitely.
indicative of like how reactive people are now, especially like hiding behind a keyboard, or
Yeah.
people can be a much more sort of, I guess, toxic version of themselves, hiding behind a screen and hiding behind a keyboard, and
Hmm.
like words can really hurt people. And I think it's 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 almost a word or a definition that kind of fits with how, I guess, what are they called, like trolls, people who
Hmm. Oh yeah.
troll online and things like that. I guess that's a form of gaslighting. It's like e- everyone now wants to have something to disagree with or complain about, or want
Right.
their judgment to be heard, or I
Right.
don't know. Sometimes I think it's just about being able to look inside and be introspective. As an example, like if you on the gaslighting topic, if you're someone who stays silent to avoid a reaction, like that's a trait that I have and I've developed over years from various traumatic experiences in my life. And I think if that would be a good reference point to be like, okay, well, if I'm just shutting down in this situation a lot because I just don't see a way through this, or I don't see a way that communication is going to help get through this, or whatever, you can reflect on the fact that you have that resistance to, or you have that need to sort of avoid a reaction and avoid the situation, and then seek help when you realize, yeah, that's me, I'm stuck in this thing, I'm stuck in this relationship, or I'm stuck in this place. I don't think it's all me. I need help. Like, I need help getting to know myself better. I need help to find ways to action daily changes to be happier, to action massive changes to get away from, whatever person, place, thing is also assisting in making me this less happy or more toxic version of myself.
Right.
Um,
Right. No,
yeah.
absolutely. So what do you think is your why for everything that you do? Like, what is your motivation overall for this?
Um, I think the further through my grief process after losing my mum, the further away from that I am, the more clarity I get every day in myself and my identity as one person, and you know, what life can offer me in terms of what matters to me, what makes me happy. And I think the honest truth is that, you know, I just want to keep growing, like keep becoming a better version of myself, or keep moving forward, because I've been through those times where it feels like you aren't just stuck still, but you literally have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I think with some movement comes momentum, and really I'm just on this momentum, and I try not to let one day or 2 days with a, you know, a lower mood, or 1 or 2 days when really I'm letting the words of other people impact me when I know I shouldn't, or I'm focusing on uncontrollable factors that are making me super anxious or super upset or whatever. I think just bouncing back from those, and recognizing that life for me is a process of just moving forward all the time. That's really my why. Like,
I love that.
yeah.
So it's a good why. It's a very important why to you and to a lot of people as well. I mean, I can relate to in a sense, of course, losing a family member to cancer. You know, I did, and it was my cousin. He's in his early 20s and his whole life ahead of him, but he developed cancer, and he's not with us anymore.
I'm
That's
so
and
sorry.
that's when that's when I started learning more about battle cancer and wanting to be more a part of it. And it's interesting because once I think we start doing things that really matter to us, we start meeting people that are more in our same universe of positivity, and more people that have the same goal in mind, you know, because
Definitely.
when I went there, that's when I met all of you guys. I mean, I got introduced to so many people. My friend Souza that lives over there, you know, she showed me around. She's also a coach and she's a chef. So I mean, it's the same positive
Yeah.
mentality, same, everyone's on the same page. And then Waterpalooza, forget it. Everyone obviously there is on the same page.
Yeah.
And then you really meet so many people that had we not taken those steps, you know, years ago to do something about our environment, we would never have met any of these people. We probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So it's just amazing to me how, you know, it does really affect our outcomes, what we do with our environment. Absolutely.
It's the like law of attraction, isn't it? Like
Yes,
put good energy out, and
that's
it kind of
right.
finds its way back to you. And I've never been big on that. I haven't even read. I'm not a big reader. I struggle with like reading comprehension. I every other processing skill I'm absolutely fine, but if I have to just read words on paper, I struggle. So I don't read a lot, but obviously I know of a number of good books and pieces of literature that talk about the laws of attraction. And I have some friends who got into more sort of life coaching and things like that before I ever considered getting more into the kind of holistic and lifestyle side of coaching.
Sure.
And yeah, it is something that fits really in line with me where I'm at right now. But then again, you know, it's not about forging positivity or forging a happy state of mind. It's genuinely about making change, and finally, piece by piece, finding your way on that right journey. It's not like, if you're someone who struggles with depression, for example, you might be in the mindset of like, oh, well, I am not in a positive state of mind, so how can I put positive energy out into the world? Which I certainly I've experienced, you know, being in a phase of feeling less stable in my mental health and thinking like, yeah, okay, it's great that my friend who's a life coach is saying put positive energy out, but like I don't feel positive. So what do I do? So I think it's a case of, like I said about the direct environment, if your deep core values, like if something inside you is telling you, I want to be better, or better as in a very broad context. I want to feel happier. I want to feel more accomplished in what I do. I want to feel slightly more focused. I want to feel slightly more driven or forward thinking rather than always feeling stuck, in the past or in the moment. It's just about making small change, one piece of the puzzle at a time. And then there's other things start to fall into place. Like you'll meet that one person who then introduces you to that one thing, that one event happens, and then you meet that other person. So it's not about like pretending to be happy or pretending to be positive. It's just about change and growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing feeling too. It really is. You start to really learn more of who you are as a person throughout that growth and that journey.
Yeah.
Yep. So what message would you want to send out to anyone listening right now?
Life can be good. Like it's also, I think challenges are laid out for us to challenge us to sort of question who we are and what matters to us. Yep. But from my experience, you can find good in everything if you choose to. I think just focusing less on like a goal or something finite that you think is what you should be or what someone else thinks you should be, and just focusing on keeping moving, day by day, action by action, piece by piece, and just staying present, surrounding yourself with good people. I think it just helps you just keep going.
It really does. It really does.
I don't really have anything more profound to say than that.
That's beautiful. What are you talking about? It's perfect. That's excellent. It's from the heart. That's what matters. So really, thank you again for taking your time and sharing your story with us. It was beautiful. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate meeting you and having this conversation too. And yeah, I hope that somehow some of that positive energy that we're trying to put out here, impacts some other people and helps some other people in some way. So,
amen. I agree with you 100%. I know it will. It has to. It has to.
Well, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing, and I'm sure you're providing a lot of value to a lot of people. So, thank you for having me.
That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. So if anybody does want to reach out to you on social media or on Mixcloud, can you give them your thing?
Yeah. So on Instagram, I'm at Chloe S. Ralph, CHLOESRALPH. And my bio will just say Chloe or Coaching with Chloe. That's me. And then there should be some links on there on my bio to my Mixcloud, and in time as well to like my coaching services and things I offer, with all my coaching and stuff too. So yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Again, Chloe, I can't thank you enough for taking time out and getting this done with me, and I appreciate it and your patience. So thank you. And yeah, everyone listening, thank you so much again for taking the time. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I know I really did. And again, stay tuned for the next one.
Thank you. Bye.